along the icy shores of the European North. Where the harsh white sea meets the Arctic, a unique group of people lived for centuries, the Pomors. These fearless mariners and fishermen built their civilization on the very edge of survival. They knew the sea like the back of their hand, but even they avoided one tiny patch of land with superstitious dread, Bolshoi Zayatsky Island. Here, in an area of just over 1 square kilometer, lies the world's largest concentration of prehistoric stone labyrinths. The Pomors called them Babylons and believed these spirals were built not by humans, but by an ancient vanished race that retreated underground. Today, we open the authentic journals of explorers to find out whose cipher was laid out by these stones 4,000 years ago. For a long time, mainstream science dismissed the labyrinths as mere heaps of rocks. Everything changed in the 1920s when an expedition led by the prominent Soviet archaeologist Alexander Bryusov arrived on Bolshoi Zayatsky Island. What his team documented in official reports shocked the scientific community. Directly inside the labyrinths and beneath the neighboring stone mounds, which the Pomors called Utki, archaeologists discovered traces of massive fires, charred human bones, and ritual flint weapons. These were not temporary fishing camps. Bryusov's expedition proved that this was a grandiose prehistoric sanctuary, a massive city of the dead with no parallel in Europe. But who built it? And why did people keep returning to this uninhabited island for thousands of years? To understand why the labyrinths remained a mystery for so long, you have to understand the people who lived alongside them for centuries. The Pomors are often called Russian Vikings, and that is no exaggeration. While the rest of Europe feared sailing far into the Atlantic, the Pomors, in their unique wooden vessels called kachas, easily reached Svalbard in freezing Alaska. The rounded shape of their ships was a stroke of genius. When the Arctic ice squeezed together, it didn't crush the vessel, but literally pushed it up to the surface, saving the crew. These people were absolute pragmatists. They didn't believe in idle fairy tales. They believed in cold calculation, the compass, and commercial fishing. And it was their professional craft that spawned the greatest scientific illusion of the 20th century. When the first researchers from St. Petersburg sailed to the White Sea, they discovered that the Pomors used unique traps for fishing, which they called tainiki or zabori. These were complex mazes made of wooden stakes and nets built right on the shoreline. During high tide, fish swam inside, and at low tide, they got tangled in the twisting corridors and couldn't escape. Ethnographers were stunned. The blueprint of these wooden traps matched the shape of the stone labyrinths on Bolshoi Zayatsky Island exactly. The scientists rejoiced. The answer seemed obvious. Ancient humans simply built the same traps, but out of stone, so they would last for centuries. This version instantly made it into all the textbooks. But the researchers forgot one critically important detail that only the Pomors themselves knew. In authentic Pomor journals and fishing logbooks preserved in the Russian north, the labyrinths are never mentioned as fishing sites. The Pomors always called them Babylons. In their professional slang, this word meant a winding path or a tangled place. The old fishermen knew that building a stone trap for fish on Bolshoi Zayatsky Island was complete madness. Why? First, stone, unlike flexible wood, is instantly shattered by fierce Arctic storms. Second, the labyrinths are located on the island's high terraces, where water never reaches, even during the worst storm. The Pomors use these stones for a completely different, far more chilling purpose. They use them to calibrate their compasses and to cast spells on the winds before deadly voyages into the open ocean. When a massive expedition from the Institute of Archaeology, led by Nina Gurina, landed on Bolshoi Zayatsky Island in the 1970s, the scientists decided to abandon speculative theories. They began grueling, monotonous work that took months. Gurina's team manually cleared, measured, and mapped every single one of the thousands of boulders that make up the island's 14 labyrinths. It was hellish work in the freezing wind of the White Sea. But when these handwritten blueprints were combined into a single map and overlaid with a coordinate grid, the researchers froze in astonishment. Before them was not accidental geometry, but a highly precise mathematical system. Every labyrinth entrance, every curve of the spiral followed a strict logic that had nothing to do with earthly life. Imagine you are in the far north, where the polar day is replaced by an endless polar night. There are no landmarks here, and a mistake in calculating the season means starvation. Soviet astro-archeologists discovered that the main axes of the Bolshoi Zayatsky Island labyrinths are perfectly aligned with an astronomical clock. The entrances to the stone spirals point precisely to the sunrise and sunset positions during the summer and winter solstices. Furthermore, the complex curves of the internal paths mirrored the exact trajectory of the moon across the sky over a 19-year cycle. These stones were a prehistoric supercomputer. Thousands of years before the invention of the first clocks and calendars, unknown astronomers of the north read the cosmos using these boulders, determining the best time for navigation in the perilous White Sea. In her reports, Nina Gurina left a key question. Who possessed such phenomenal knowledge in the 3rd millennium BC? The local nomadic tribes of that era knew no metals or writing. They lived by hunting. Yet, whoever designed the Babylons possessed a knowledge of advanced geometry and spherical astronomy. Scientists put forward a stunning hypothesis. The White Sea labyrinths were not just calendars. They were navigational simulators and star maps carved in stone. Ancient mariners, before venturing into the uncharted, icy Arctic, came here to study the map of the night sky and learn to navigate by the moon. The island was a sacred academy for humanity's first navigators. But why did this thriving maritime civilization suddenly vanish, leaving behind nothing but cold granite? But the most chilling fact documented by Soviet archaeological expeditions lay elsewhere. Around the 2nd millennium BC, the labyrinth builders simply vanished. There are no traces of wars, epidemics, or violent battles in the island's cultural layers. The great navigators of the Stone Age, who possessed phenomenal knowledge of astronomy, packed their belongings, got into their boats, and sailed away forever, leaving their stone computers to be ravaged by the Arctic winds. The planet's climate began to change rapidly, the White Sea froze harder, and this land became uninhabitable. The island was deserted for long centuries, until those very Pomors arrived, and they found a new deadly use for these stones. In the ethnographic archives of Arkhangelsk, unique records of testimonies from Pomor sailors have been preserved. Before every long voyage into the polar ice for fish or marine animals, the Kormschiki, as the Pomors called their captains, secretly landed on Bolshoi Zayatsky Island. They believed that the stone Babylons were capable of twisting and untangling air currents like invisible aerodynamic machines. A captain would enter the labyrinth, reach the very center, and recite a special spell, tying the storm into a knot. The Pomors were convinced, if you walk the labyrinth to the end and leave an offering in the center, a copper coin or a piece of bread, the sea will calm down and your homemade compass will never lose its heading. The ancient astronomical academy had transformed into a harsh maritime altar of survival. Today, the labyrinths of Bolshoi Zayatsky Island are protected, and walking on their fragile stone paths is strictly forbidden. Yet, they continue to guard their greatest treasure, the mystery. Whoever their creators were, ancient astronomers, shamans conjuring ghosts, or Earth's first brilliant engineers, they left us an eternal reminder. A message that the human mind has always sought to master the chaos of nature and the cosmos, even here, at the very edge of the inhabitable world. We look at these 30-meter spirals and realize the true labyrinth is our own history, an intricate maze from which we are still trying to find a way out.